Hello and welcome to Long's Toys. Today I have a Kamen Rider Gaim review for you. This is ACSP Drive Arms. This is Gaim's component from the team-up movie with Drive. Here is the pictures on the sides of the packaging, and up top you can see him putting on the drive arms. On the back, nice picture of him in the arms with the door gun and the handle sword. And then, of course, it shows Type Fruits, which we've already seen, and Machine Chaser, which we'll get to in a couple days, probably. So we'll go ahead and get this guy out of the packaging and take a closer look. So out of the packaging, it comes with everything you see here. You have the Gaim figure, you have the drive arms, the helmet, and then you have the Dorju, or door gun, and Handlekin handle sword. So real quick, just to take a look at the accessories, they are different than the versions that come with Type Wild and Type Technique, respectively. Well, the one that came with Type Wild, the bottom part was all black, and the steering wheel or handle could actually move. On this one, it cannot move. It is one solid piece. Otherwise, it looks pretty much exactly the same. And as for the door gun, the same difference. This was black, and then on the back, this was red, and on the back, this part was black. And the door could open, but again, this is one solid piece. So it's kind of a cheaper version of both weapons, which is a little unfortunate, seeing as how with Type Fruits, we got pretty much the exact same versions of the weapons that came with the original orange arms. So I'm not really sure why we didn't just get the exact same weapons again. Why did we get cheaper versions? Not really sure. Here's the helmet, which I think looks pretty good. And then here we have the drive arms, which is just a big version of Drive's head, which is pretty hilarious. But it's nicely detailed, nicely painted. I think that's pretty good. Going to put that off to the side for a minute. We'll take a close-up look at the figure. Now, the figure does have pretty much all the same articulation that the normal Gaim figure has. I'm pretty sure it's the same body, just a new head. He's got the three lock seats on the side, but the clip that holds the Muso saber is missing. The hole is still there, but they just took the clip off since he doesn't have a Muso saber. Ball joints at the ankle, 90 degrees at the knee, ball joint at the hip, and then a thigh swivel about here. Waist articulation, wrist articulation, the two sets of fingers that swivel, elbow articulation, bicep swivel, shoulder ball joint, or I should say actually it's a hinge and a swivel, and then ball joint for the head. So it's pretty much exactly the same as a normal Gaim figure. It just has a new head, but we'll try to get in close to take a look at that new head. I think it's pretty great. I really like the giant R. It looks kind of like the trademark Gaim symbol, but obviously it's an R for drive, and I think it looks pretty great. Here he is from the back. Pretty much the normal, nothing new here. But I think the figure looks pretty good. So first up, I'm just going to show you how to put the helmet inside the drive head. Basically what you're going to do is this whole section that has the kind of spoiler, you're going to rock that forward just a little bit so that you can get in under here. And this whole top section will kind of rock back, as you can see. And then it'll go underneath the spoiler. And then at that point you can push the sides out, just like that. And then once you do that, you can pull this whole section back, and then of course the helmet goes right there. Clips in pretty nicely, pretty securely. And then you can just start to kind of close this all back up. Make sure this goes under the spoiler. The spoiler is cool, but it's kind of a pain in the fact that it's difficult to move things around and it kind of gets in the way. But just kind of close this back up, line all the tabs up and everything. Oop. It's a little finicky, but you can get the hang of it. Alright, apparently it doesn't want to cooperate. There we go. So now we have the helmet in there, and I don't know if it's just me, but the giant drive helmet kind of reminds me of like an in-training Digimon, kind of like Koromon. I don't know if anyone else is getting that, but it does. It kind of reminds me of that. So now we'll go ahead and show how it fits on the figure. Alright, so you just go ahead and pop it on top like any other ARMS figure. Slide the head in. Make sure the clips line up. Clips on fairly easily, which I appreciate. Sometimes they're difficult. And just like this, I think it's hysterical just to have a giant head on his shoulders. But anyway, you open it up very much the same way. Pull this forward so you can get inside here and rock this back. Then you're going to pull the sides down and then kind of pull them out, and they're obviously going to become the shoulder pads. This part you just pull down and then rock this part up and fold that up like that. Pretty nice and compact on the back there. This part is a little troublesome, but it's not terrible. So you're going to pull this down, and then this bottom section will rotate down so that you see the front of that still. And then this will kind of rotate down, but then also back. So you pull this, and then this has to go down to rotate down, and then it kind of lays on top. So it kind of like accordions in on itself. Now, this is kind of cool, but the problem is I wish the spoiler was just a little bit longer because, like, I wouldn't mind if it was just hanging out back here, but it's a little too close to the head. So it's just kind of a lot of smashed in that area. And it doesn't necessarily, I mean, it reflects on the head mobility because, like, when you push it back, you can see it moves the whole thing back. So I kind of just wish that was a little longer. The shoulder pads are kind of big, and they kind of, not limited a lot, but they limit mobility of the arms a little bit. You kind of have to like move them out of the way, get the arm in the position you want, and then kind of push them back down. But aesthetically, I think it looks pretty good. So here's Gaim Drive Arms wielding both the Handlekin and Dorju. And he looks good wielding them. I assume they kept them red just to meet the color, to be consistent with the color of the arms. But I would have been alright if they just gave us the black versions that we were already used to. From the back, he looks pretty good. Like I said, this compacts pretty nicely on his back. So I think he looks pretty good. So while I think Drive Arms is fun, I definitely do have a couple complaints. Getting the cheaper version of the weapons is kind of a bummer. Like I said, I assume they're red to be in the same color scheme as the arms, but I don't think that was important enough to make cheaper versions. They could have just included the same ones they'd already made. The shoulder pads are kind of big and bulky and kind of hinder his arm movement. The spoiler that goes behind his head is a little bit too close to his neck, and that limits head mobility, so I kind of wish that was a little bit longer. But I like the arms, I like the color scheme, I really like the Gaim figure, so there's definitely pluses and minuses to this. Out of the two, I definitely think Drive type Fruits wins. I think that's a much more fun figure, just because this one does have a couple issues. I don't know if they're necessarily deal breakers, but if you had to only pick between one or the other, I would definitely recommend Type Fruits higher than I would Drive Arms, unfortunately. But like I said, it's still a fairly decent figure, so if you could find it on sale or a little bit cheaper, I think it's worth picking up. Yeah, like I said, just those couple little complaints, just don't ruin it enough, but they ruin it a little bit. Also, it is a Gaim figure, so any of the other arms can fit on him. I didn't go through all of them just because there's so many, but it can wear any of the other arms. So just wanted to let you know about that. It does have that functionality. So, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts on the thing. I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please like and share this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. If you'd like to check out my Facebook and Twitter, there'll be links to them in the description below. So I hope you've enjoyed this review of ACSP Drive Arms from Kamen Rider Gaim, and thanks for watching.